Hi,
Hey, how's it going?
how are you? All
Good. So far, so good.
right,
I like your place. I saw some of your pictures and like on Instagram and stuff. So, where were you located at?
New York.
Oh, okay. It looks like a place in New York.
Yeah,
How,
I'm on
how
the east side.
go, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I said I'm on the east side, East 28, like Gramercy.
Okay. Have you lived there long? Like, were you born there?
No, I mean I was actually born in. I hate saying where I was born. There's nothing. I
Why?
was born in San Antonio,
Oh, I got
but I was raised in Vegas,
you.
uh,
Hmm.
and I raised in Vegas, and I've lived here for like 12, going on 12 years, 15 years.
What
But
brought you to New York?
well, it's funny is that I mean two things that are my passion is singing and um, working out. And
Okay.
a friend of mine was like, you if you have to do one thing, and you can do it for free, what would it be? Well, I was like, well, it would be working out, and then it would be singing. So I
Hmm.
actually came here to New York to pursue my singing career, and that's what I used to do in Vegas.
Yeah.
And I was one of the gondoliers that sing, and then I came to New York to pursue it and was trying, and it was like I was pushing it further away because I was frustrated because I wasn't getting any auditions, and I was
Hmm.
going on calls and stuff, and I was just getting frustrated, and I knew that much about myself. Okay, I should probably just stop and like let that go, and then focus on other things.
Yeah.
Not that I'm giving that up, but so I stopped for a while, and then I continued to work out. And then I mean, it's probably because I wasn't expecting anything from working out, that everything came like a lot faster.
Hmm.
And then my whole bodybuilding career has just like skyrocketed from, yeah.
So this was like your endeavors like to sing in New York and all was kind of before you took off in bodybuilding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so what's a you said Gandalier. What is that?
A gondolier, it's at the Venetian. There's a hotel called the Venetian.
Hmm.
It's an exact replica of Venice.
Oh, okay.
It's in so Venice, they have gondoliers, except the real gondoliers are only, you wouldn't see any female gondoliers because it's primarily like uh
Like a male dominated trade.
yeah, so you wouldn't see a female gondolier. So
Hmm.
but you would see gondoliers, and they actually do have them, and they would sing their taxi their taxi cabs in the boats, but the gondoliers, so they would sing arias and like little tunes,
Hmm.
and you would take you to, so it's like that.
So then, like, what is your style of music then? Like, what would you do? Like, what do you sing generally speaking?
Well, I mean, I'm classically trained,
Hmm.
and I I take I it's almost like I would say Ella Fitzgerald, kind of like
Hmm.
meets Nora Jones,
Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
and yeah.
I'm always impressed with people that have like artistic or like musical talents, like because
And
I'm not that way at all, you know. So,
to top it off, like on top of that, I dance too. So I used
oh
to,
wow, okay,
I was I taught dance in Vegas for a while, and then I wasn't, I didn't have any ballet like training. I did only like modern.
hmm,
So I didn't really take it to a level where, I went to
yeah,
school for it or something like that. I
right, right,
just knew how to, and
sure. Kind
yeah.
of learned on the job, so to speak.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So why from Vegas to New York? Because like someone that doesn't know much about that kind of industry, I would think that Vegas would have a lot more opportunities for like singing and things of that nature. Is that wrong?
Well, no, that you're not wrong, and I am an open book, and I just say things as I think very differently too, as you talk to me more. But
Hmm.
I feel that anything that you don't say you are saying a lot, which means that you're saying to the universe, this, I'm identifying myself as this, so you can't know this part about me.
Mhm.
But on the flip side, I think it's my belief that when you verbalize anything that you don't want people to hear, you're saying to the universe, hey, this is what I did, but it's not who I am. And I'm
Okay.
verbalizing it so that I can just tell you what I did, but I'm not identifying that
Okay.
to make me who I am. So in saying that is that's well, I moved from this is in my 20s. I'm 40. Right? So I don't look 40, but
Yeah, you look great. I was gonna say.
and when I was in my 20s, like early 20s, I was into getting into a lot of drugs,
Mhm.
partying and
Yeah.
doing ecstasy and stuff. I mean, not hard, but like just doing that a lot,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then um, I was like, I gotta like, my mind, I'm like, I gotta do something about it. And in my mind, I'm like so smart that I'm so smart. My own good, my mind went somewhere else. Where Tony Robbins had said this: if you ever want, to take the island, burn the boats.
Mhm.
I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any money. I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
And but I loved New York anyway. So and I had one sister in Connecticut, and
Mhm.
who I can relate to kind of. I'm not close to her, but I knew when she was younger, she kind of partied and stuff, so she kind of
Mhm.
relates. So I was like, so I told her, I'm like, I'm just my situation. I just need,
Yeah.
and she was like, well, come live with me. And then so
Mhm.
I lived with her for 4 months to save up just enough money for my first and second month's rent.
Mhm.
And I got dropped off 12 years ago in Washington, 172nd in Fort Washington. And I got dropped off at there, had first 2 months rent, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a job.
Mhm.
And, fast forward later, I'm a doctor in Chinese medicine and a pro bodybuilder. So
Oh wow. Okay. So everything definitely worked out for you. I mean, that's an interesting story. How did you like did you feel like you needed to get away from that like party scene? Do you feel like the drugs and everything were kind of wearing you down? Is or did you just feel like it was time to take another chapter in your life?
I just felt like it wasn't where it was, because obviously it is. All drugs wear you down. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
No matter how you can tell yourself, oh, that wasn't what I chose. All you
Right.
is just you're in denial.
Right.
So it or let's say I can control I only do this on the weekend. Whatever you tell yourself, it does. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I say that on that level of wearing me down. Of course, anything done for an extended period of time, whether it be every weekend, it's still an extended period of weekends.
Sure. Sure.
So of course it was wearing me down, but I
Right.
was like, I said something just got to something,
Yeah. You
you
got to
know.
make a change. Yeah.
And I say something needs to. It was like my energy was like I'm putting my foot down.
Hmm.
Calling
Hmm.
an intervention, because it was actually now to come think of it, you know, I would like party out, and then I would like show up a little late for and I was doing gondolier. I was like in entertaining.
Right.
I would show up a little bit late, and I would, it would affect, you know what I mean, like how my
Sure, sure. Well, I think that's like a typical story of someone who's got an addiction or is dealing with that kind of lifestyle. It's like eventually it starts affecting, maybe not initially, but eventually it starts affecting other parts of your life. So, yeah, no, definitely understand where you're coming from there. Um, and I'm
sorry to have it be like a heavy subject, but I mean, I feel like, I mean, I could go both ways, and I could have just given you like a
Oh
lighter.
no, I mean this is why this show is going on is I'm not interested in like surface material, that's not
Okay,
yeah,
because
so
it's so funny because I went to the Arnold Classics this past July, and
mhm,
I had like four photo shoots lined up
mhm,
with Arnold, and one of the guys was interviewing me for a show, and then he was like, it's funny because I don't know how to give a light answer. He goes,
Uh-huh.
you must get a lot of guys like after you, right? And I said, and me being the person I am, I'm like, well, actually, and I gave him this like, I really don't, because I know that anything I'm giving on the outside can only give yourself on the inside. And so what you need to cultivate, and I gave him this long, like deep, and then I can just see his face went from like into, and then after,
he was just paying you a compliment, and you went into the.
And then the second time he was like, let's do that again. And this time, why don't you like give like a lighter answer? He said, a lighter, not so heavy. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, you know what I mean? It was weird because, and that says a lot, because I never want to, and that's where you have to be careful. If you don't know who you are, you'll easily get people to try to change who you are, or why don't you say it this way, or why don't you wear this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why don't you wear this, or why don't you then pick him up and give him that? I mean, that wasn't on my contract. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like it's just knowing who you are and standing by who you are.
Right. So it sounds like you're touching a little bit on the fact. Are you referring to the fact that like sometimes women can be taken advantage of in some of these like photo shoots and stuff like that? Is that what you're referring to?
I mean, listen, I don't think anybody's talking about this shit. I don't even care, because it needs to be talked about. It needs not the fact that women. It's yes and no, because when I turned pro, I turned pro 2000. I did it by myself. Number one, that's unheard of.
That's interesting. Most people use gurus for sure.
I mean, no, most people use like, especially
coaches,
if you want coaches, right? I did it by myself. I'm self-taught. And what I mean by self-taught was I became a trainer because I wanted to know how to train. So I do things by doing things by myself and learning. That's just in my charts anyway.
Yeah.
So I became a trainer, and then that took its own course. But when I turned pro at the largest show and the best show of the year, which is the NPC Nationals. So of course you get the recognition, and then I started getting like a lot of weird requests, and or the photographer, that particular photographer, he was asking me to do certain things, and
and you don't have to go into like any kind of like vulgar specific details or anything like that, but yeah,
just simple things like, why don't you pick him up, and why don't you like just squat him and roll him now? It's just kind of like, I mean, I don't know why it makes me feel like, I don't know, it just makes me feel a certain way, like it's nothing like, oh, then show your tits. I mean, it's nothing like that.
Right.
It just has me feel a certain way, like
awkward. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not, a person or something. You wouldn't ask, Jay Cutler, or
Right.
You ask it. You know what? I don't. You know what? That's what it is. It's they're not treating me like like a professional, or they'll you know what I mean? Because I have a look, or stereotype.
Right.
Everybody thinks when I'm covered up, everybody thinks I do fitness, or they never think bodybuilding, because
so that's what I was going to ask you. What did you turn pro in bodybuilding?
Yeah, I turned pro.
Interesting.
Yeah,
just because you're like, you seem, I don't mean this in a negative way, but you seem like smaller, you seem leaner, you seem like just more of a feminine look, than like a bodybuilder, female would look, or at least what I would think would look, so.
I'm definitely more on the smaller side, and especially like the fact that I haven't trained because of this COVID thing for like a month. But I have, I mean, I have good genetics. I'm half Puerto Rican and half Korean.
Oh, okay. I was wondering where you're from. I was like, when you said San Antonio, I was like, huh. I was like,
yeah. My mom was born and raised in Korea. My father is from San Juan, Puerto Rico. So I I have really just good genetics and
Hmm.
just building muscle, and that's not a problem for me. But
Right.
I haven't trained this whole month. But when I start, I pack on a lot of muscle. And listen, I don't know if I can say it on the air, but I don't. I also don't want to do. It's how much you want to take yourself there. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what
How
are
much
you?
drugs you want to use to
Of
get there?
course,
Yeah,
exactly.
I got you.
And I don't want to. Yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, especially for women, because there's no coming back. A lot of like just genetic is speaking from a like a medical, um, n- status. Like when women take performance enhancing drugs, a lot of times for them, once they reach a certain level, like it's just stopping them is not going to bring them back.
say this on the air because this is the first time I'm ever saying this, and I'm finally saying this because I'm like, well, maybe it's just wasn't meant for me to do this.
Hmm.
Because when I for so I've competing for 12 years, and nine of those years I didn't do anything.
Right.
And it was just but it was and when you see some of my picture, everybody thought I was because of the way I looked at my muscle
Hmm.
mass. I I started using a little bit, like half of what normal people use, like 3 years ago.
Hmm.
And then I experimented with one of them, and which was Tren, and that actually messed up my singing voice.
Yeah. See, and I was curious about that. I was gonna
My talking
talk
voice
to
is
you
fine,
about that.
but my talking voice is fine, but my singing voice, it totally, like, I can't
Hmm.
anymore. And that to me, I was like, oh my God. I was like, that was my life, like me singing. I used to
Hmm.
sing. And then I had to come to terms with, well, maybe that's not what I was supposed to do.
Right.
Maybe that's my expectations of what I think I should be doing.
Right. Right.
And so that's usually the case. So I'm going to think that instead of being like, oh, instead of just beating myself up and just tearing myself down and saying, oh, well, no, at least I turned pro.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
in order, and I want to say, when I started using, then I started seeing results. Like it was what I needed. It was what I needed. I mean, when I would go on stage, I would the tie-in of the hamstrings and glutes. It was just
Sure.
you know
Sure. Sure.
shoulders bigger, my
Well, it's
arm.
it's also not just in bodybuilding, but it's also like in any kind of sport. And while other sports may have guidelines and testing, we all know that performance enhancing drugs are being used all across the board, even in the Olympics. So what it comes down to is you're at a disadvantage because everyone else is using and you're not.
Everyone else. I mean, even like the fitness, even like the
Mhm.
the bikini, like they're using, and the cutting enhancing, right? Everyone's
Right.
using on some form what to do to get the results. Maybe they're using a cutting agent rather than a building agent, but it's
Sure.
still, you
Sure.
know.
Right. Right.
And yeah, so that was the deciding factor. But I did it the correct way though, because I allowed my own muscles, whatever my body could do at the capacity to do it, I allowed it to maximize. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
As opposed to like doing it right off the bat and then actually having your stabilizer, because that's what happens. I mean,
Right.
you so much mass, and you get these like 20-year-old guys who, well, you're still building testosterone. What are you doing?
Right,
Do you know?
right,
Like,
right. Yeah. Yeah. They're kind of like just flooding themselves with that stuff while their body's still like producing, higher and higher levels naturally. So let me ask you this, a couple of questions since we're on this subject. So was Trembolone the first time that you noticed an issue with your voice or was like, did you start noticing using lesser agents, lesser,
I will say this, with the first one that I used, the first one I used, and then it was the second time I used it, that I saw. First time, the first time I started noticing my voice, and then well, the third time I used it was from a different source, and from the quality was different,
Hmm.
and I could tell you by from taking it
Right.
the where you're getting it from, and apparently the less quality it is, the more side effects you're going to get.
Sure. Sure.
And
That
the
makes
better the
sense.
quality, the less side effects. I mean, second one, I started noticing like facial hair,
Hmm.
and my voice um was really like, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was, I
What
mean,
what would you did has it gotten better since you got came off of it?
oh yeah, I mean, this is like you can even hear it now, like, but it's kind of like a raspy. That's just how it
Yeah,
is.
I will say it's not as bad as I've heard. Like as far as like other interviews that I had with other bodybuilders, that's yours isn't nearly as bad as.
I allowed to see what happens is I stop. Do you know what I mean? When you stop doing something and you
Right.
allow it feels on its own. So when your vocal cords, and that includes your vocal cords, your vocal cords will go back to, it's almost like when you lose your voice and then it
Yeah.
comes back.
Kind of rejuvenate a little bit
It's that feeling. Now if it's here, like it won't be here, but it'll be like here. So now
better.
speaking voice is finally like, it's actually coming back. Like I can speak like a normal and sound
Right.
like a normal woman. That wasn't the case before though.
Hmm. So let me ask you this other question. Have you I'm trying to ask this in the way that it makes sense. So
Yeah.
you're on performance enhancing drugs and then you come off. Are you, when you go back to naturally without taking anything, I'm assuming there was a point where you did that. Did how was your natural levels? Like, did they go back to normal? Did you have to supplement at that point because, you used
What the
before?
my strength.
No, no, I'm saying like your hormone levels. Like, for example, with a man, like let's say like their testosterone doesn't go back to normal.
Actually, when the reason why the men need to do PC the
PCT, yeah. Hmm.
post psychotherapy is because the they they need to get there's something with the estrogen and relating to the testosterone levels.
Right, right. So what about women?
So for women, it's not inhibiting. Do you know what I mean? Like it's enhancing our testosterone level, but it's not naturally, like you are inhibiting something for the other.
So are you saying like because your natural levels are low anyway, testosterone, it's not that important?
Do any like post psychotherapy because um, we're not we're not inhibiting, or not
Right.
we're not any of our hormones. We're actually enhancing just our own testosterone level.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of like a pros and cons, right? Like it's a benefit for you rather than men because you don't have to take PCT, but at the same time, if you get to a certain level and you push it, it's hard to come back. So,
Oh no, for sure.
yeah. So take a little sidetrack. So you're into fitness. Was there like a natural passion that you've always had, or was it that your parents were into it, or how did you get into just training in general?
I have a whole theory about that, but
Yeah, in theory.
yeah, I do. I mean, as far as like what if you ask somebody, you just asked me the question, and if I
Mhm,
said, which my answer is, I just loved it. Like
mhm.
I was actually I was abused when I was younger, and
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
okay, so verbally and physically by my mom, and
Mhm.
I when I went to school, I also was teased because I looked different. I
Right.
didn't. I mean, and I was always teased, and so the only place that I felt, my sister, actually, I'm the youngest out of four sisters, and my sister, she didn't want to go to the gym, and I remember it was like a hand me down kind of thing. She was like,
Mhm,
"Oh," so that's how I went. I started going to the gym that way, but it was the only place that I felt safe. I mean,
mhm.
no one made fun of me there, and actually, you know, I got a lot of attention, and um, and I was like, wow, this is great. But it was the only place where I could just feel safe, and
Mhm.
I just loved it. I just loved it, and that's the theory. So the theory is whenever you ask somebody, oh, why are you doing this, and they say because
Mhm.
that's a condition. So you know what I mean. You're always going to what happens when that ends? It's like kind of like, oh I'm doing this for a 10% body fat, and then when that is obtained, you're going to have another condition. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
That's not true. That's not true passion. That's when you can say it's I don't know why I'm doing it because I just love it.
Mhm.
Then that's when it never ends. Do you know what I mean? That's when,
Sure.
you know,
Sure. Sure.
because my mom did it, or because I mean, actually, no one in my family, you know, did it, and they
Mhm.
didn't understand why. And they actually, my brother-in-law, he's Mormon and he's the most judgmental. He
Mhm.
said, he wrote me an email. I asked him for financial advice when I was in my 20s, and then he wrote me this long email about working out, and he was like, and about how uh, people who work out are covering up for their own insecurities.
Mhm.
And I was like, what in the hell? So I got all these
Yeah.
different,
That's a weird thing to say, but but there is some of that, right? Too, like, there definitely is some of that. There's people that are insecure, and then and they use that to to lift themselves up. But I, I have a problem with people viewing that as a negative. That's my thing. It's like, if that is the case, then if anything, that's a positive, right? Like, I mean, if a person has insecurities and the lifting and training helps them overcome that, why is that a bad thing? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I mean, people didn't really understand. My family didn't understand. Like, wow. I mean, no one ever thought, wow, she's spending a lot of time in the gym. She's
Hmm.
carrying my water, like my food, like my
Right.
life.
Right.
And no, like, why? You always ask me, always ask me, why are you doing this? Why are you? I don't. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do after you turn pro? It's
Hmm.
not like, oh, I turned pro and I'm gonna stop lifting. I mean,
Right.
I, this is who I am. Like, I
Hmm.
just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And probably why I've gotten so far as I did, because I just love even weak working my weak points, and seeing me just overcome that. And then, yeah, so I don't do it for any other reason, but I just really love working out.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that's the best reason, right? For the love of the game, so they say. So Linda, like, now, you're in, like, one of the highest hits state of Corona. Um, how's life been as far as, like, that's concerned?
It's been, I mean, it feels, I literally it feels like a dream, like every day,
Hmm.
and um there's a there's two practices in, I'm going to use Chinese medicine because the only thing that fits.
Hmm.
They qigong, and his other form is called negong.
Okay.
And qigong quiet the is done to quiet the mind
Hmm.
and going inward, but Negong actually is doing something inward to quiet the body.
Mm.
So it's
Okay.
like, it's like meditating would be something doing something inward to now
Hmm.
calm the whole body and mind, the thought, right?
Right.
So it's, I mean, who does meditation? I mean, New York is one of the rampage is a high stress place, and the reason why I just bring that up is because um, people are literally going crazy. I mean, outside, we're like, I haven't went out in days, and I mean, it just
Yeah.
like, and then yesterday I was grocery shopping, and then the cash register was like, "Ma'am, can you please have put a mask on?" And then she just got all offended. Well, why don't you ask this part? Why don't you ask? And then when everyone was kind of chiming in,
Yeah, it's
and then everyone's like wearing masks now, 6 feet, like 6 feet distance.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
people, even my friend, are going crazy because why? Think about it. Okay, you can't. No, there's no distractions.
Mm,
You can't work out. Let's see. You can't work because you know what I mean. Nothing. You
right,
have. You're forced to what? Be at home, but what? You're forced to be by yourself and do nothing.
right, right.
So people are just. I just find this crazy. People are going crazy and just literally going because my friend did. Um, and she actually got the virus,
Oh
in which
wow.
that's another story because she called me and she was like, Linda, I have these symptoms because there's different strands, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. I heard there was like 7 or 8 different strands, if not
Yeah,
more.
that's the one where it was the digestive one. It was
Mm,
vectored or it wasn't the sick one. It wasn't the fever.
right, right,
It was gastrointestinal. She had
right.
the gastrointestinal one. So it
Uh,
was mainly like a lot of fecal matter, and she was like, "Oh my god, I
mm,
think I spontaneous this." And I said, Colette, I think you have it. And she was like, no, she said she thought she had it.
mhm.
The next day, she was fine. And then we found, so this is how there's no gyms open. So I managed to find a gym that was like under the radar, like on a hush.
I heard
So
about some of those. Yeah.
yeah, so it was like walking distance too. I was like, yo, and I'm like walking and I'm like, yeah, I found a gym. And then we had to go through the side entrance, and get a membership. And then so I'm going. So she's like, I'm going with you. I said, you just said you had this and you said you just, she's like,
Right.
no, I don't have it. So she actually came with me.
Oh wow. Okay.
And number two, coughing up a storm, not covering her mouth.
Mm. I wonder how many people ended up getting it at that gym.
Yeah, well, actually, no one was there, and it was
Oh,
like
that's good.
it was like one or two people there, and uh, and later she got tested and she got it. But she told me that she purposely didn't want people to think that she, what are they thinking, or
Right.
like,
Right. So did you get it?
nope.
Okay. You must have good genetics.
I know what, I have very, 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 very good because I do all these weird stuff. I went on a 30-day water fast
Oh,
to
nice. 30-day
post,
water.
and I do these far out kind of things because I'm also I'm a doctor in Chinese medicine, so I do
Mhm.
bone broth with Chinese herbs and stuff, and I do intermittent fastings. I just finished drinking this thing every morning. It's called Cell Food.
Sure.
It's only has 3 seaweeds in it. I mean, I healed my own self because I had Hashimoto's,
Mm.
and
Oh
I
wow.
healed myself through these medicinal ways. And yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
that's there's definitely for sure there's definitely benefits to things like that. I don't know if you know who George St. Pierre is. He's pretty famous UFC fighter. Yeah, and he goes every month. He does a week of nothing but water. So from the beginning of the month. Mhm.
know about that. Can I tell you my my eyesight? I'm gonna show. I'll show you real quick. Hopefully you can see. But my eyesight actually improved because what I just loved eating, and I used food as a way of emotionally suppressing what I was feeling too, also. And so it was just, oh, Linda's such a good. It wasn't how hard I trained. I mean, I trained like an animal, but it was like my mind. It was like
Right.
my rebound was crazy. I went
Mm.
from like, 112 years to this too. Went from competition weight being 120,
Mhm.
fucking ballooning at 170 pounds. That was my worst. At
Ooh,
5 foot,
50 pounds.
that is not cute. And going back and forth, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Mhm.
And of course, I mean, what did I get at the end? Hashimoto's, and I had thyroid issues.
Yeah.
Because of the whole kind of yo-yo. And I said, you know what? There's a scripture in the Bible that says those who gain their life will lose it, and those who will lose his life for my sake will gain it. And
Hmm.
what that was, I gave it all up. And I said, I was willing to, I said, of course you're going to do a 30-day water fast. You're going to lose everything. You're going to lose fat, muscle, you're going to lose everything. I said, I don't care because I'm not doing it for that. Uh,
Right.
I can work out and I can lift again and I
Hmm.
can stop that, but I can't gain this back. You
Yeah.
know, I, I'm going to, I need to find whatever it is that I'm running away from. And I need to find out what that is. And I did a 30 in Costa Rica called Tanglewood Wellness Center. And I actually I went from 106, 165. And when at 30 day at the end, I was 120.
Yeah. Well, I
And then,
mean, you didn't need anything, but like, were you able to keep it off?
yeah, no, but my eyes, do you see this? Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Turn it a little bit. It's so hard to see. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I see it now. Yeah.
so at the top there, that was my old eyesight when
Uh-huh.
I before I went. And
Hmm.
this is an after. This was
Oh,
after.
wow. Yeah, yeah. So
My so
definitely improved.
thing is like there's something to this. Like your body's meant to heal. My eyesight improved.
Hmm.
My taste buds, like I don't have the craving. That was a whole game changer.
Hmm.
And when I went back to the gym, I put on twice as much mass as
Hmm.
I did not.
Yeah.
I
I mean, definitely you benefited. I don't think there's, any question about that. That's interesting. I definitely think that as far as like you were putting on a lot of weight, you said, unnecessarily, like the rebound. I think that's a big problem in
that's
fitness.
huge. No,
Yeah.
when I'm talking about food, that is something that no one talks
Yeah,
about.
it's almost after the competition, people just go crazy, and they just gain so much unnecessary weight.
They go crazy. And what the saddest thing is? When 9 years ago, I remember I went to Columbus, Ohio, and it was my
Hmm.
first time going to
Arnold.
the X. I don't
Hmm.
know that's. And I saw one of the fitness models that when you saw her, she was famous, whatever.
Hmm.
So I was like, and I asked her, I said, how do you do it? Like, how do you, how do you maintain this body? And you know what she told me?
Mm.
She goes, I just learned to hate food.
Ooh,
I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, I was like, wow,
that's the definition of a dysfunctional relationship with food.
yeah. And
Yeah.
she's like beautiful uh girl that this, and her when you see her, like, oh, and I was like, what? I was like, oh man, it's almost like finding out your favorite ball player. I was
Yeah.
like, just, oh.
You think she was just kidding, or you think she like that was that a serious answer?
She looked dead at me and she said, I just learned to hate food.
Hmm.
One, she was kind of shocked because I asked a sideball question like that. So
Right,
she,
right.
and then she kind of like did this, and she's like,
Yeah.
and then I was like, I mean, it is, I mean,
Crazy.
but no wonder why you have failed marriages. No wonder why, because of your relationship. You're covering up something, and it's, you know what I mean. You're gonna
Yeah.
continue doing it with whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, definitely like when someone like the opposite is all the extremes are, not good for you. Like like overindulging in food, or like in her case, it was the opposite. It's, like she said, hating food. It's like none of that is a good relationship with food, not a balanced relationship at all. So,
It's a real touchy subject,
yeah. Yeah.
and it's something that people don't ever get over,
Hmm. Yeah.
and it's, you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I think I know what you're referring to. Like as far like tell me what you mean when you said
Well,
people don't ever get over it.
um, I used to like have this feeling whenever like sweets or to have ice cream, or I would get like really excited, and then, you know,
Yeah.
I don't get that way anymore like I used to with certain foods. It was almost as if like it had it was like a more of like a pleasure. It was like
Right.
something that gave me pleasure as opposed to something that I appreciate and that I love that tastes really
Right.
good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That I appreciate.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
I
you
was
almost
talking.
in replacement of, and I know this is gonna sound, it's almost like replacing your pleasure for pleasure.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I completely, I think I know exactly what you're talking about. I also like found out that sometimes when you associate things with fun, it like, yeah, it becomes a problem. Some people do it with alcohol, some people do it with sweets, you know. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to eat the sweet. They have this association with like, we'll just use sweet as an example. Like, oh, well, I'm like, if I like, I'll have fun when I eat the sweet, and they eat it and they were, oh man, I shouldn't have eaten that, you know, like it, and then it's a
Well,
cycle.
is in the five elements. So in acupuncture, we have the fire, earth, metal, water, wood,
Hmm.
and so we have the taste for each element.
Hmm.
Well, the taste for the earth is all about nurturing. The taste for the earth element is sweet.
Mm.
So in my mind, so it's not coincidence that we pick up something sweet to as a way of nurturing ourselves.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. And you get conditioned. That's the thing. You also get conditioned. The more you eat it, the more you're used to it, the more, you know, you crave it. So
I mean, it's taught to us by when we're since we grew up. You know what I
sure,
mean?
sure.
We're just programmed that
Right.
way.
And in the United States, I mean, originally I'm not from here, but I've lived here quite a long time. And in the United States, they're like sweets are huge. Like some countries, it's not that bad. But I know in the States, it's that's a cultural like thing is for sweet things, you know? So,
You're pretty big. I mean, I was quite surprised that you're pretty
oh,
big.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, so I'm in the same boat as far as like food is concerned. Like I'm about 263 now. So like I'm trying to get to a point where I can at least be like 230. You know, that would be ideal for me. So hopefully I'll just stay, you know, can get there and stay there. I'm getting a little older, you know, I'm 35. So I'm trying to downsize a little bit, you know.
Well, I mean, so the whole about like the working out COVID, but my whole thing about that is it took me so long to get this. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
took a lot of time building up the way I am today because I was bottom heavy and I was,
Hmm.
and I have my arms. But it's something that was hard for you to get. It stays longer as opposed to getting something really quick,
Sure.
getting it quick. You know what I mean?
Sure. What's that quote? It said they say anything easily gotten can, you know, it can be easily lost, you know. So
Right, right. So I'm like, and we're working out, like my hips were hurting a little bit, and I was, and I just go with with what is, and I said, okay, well, I mean, I'm working out with my TRX or whatever, but it's not, me, it's not the same as
mhm.
working out.
Sure, sure.
I don't have any like attachment. It's funny because I get it all. What are you doing now? And like, what are you doing for workout? I'm like, well, I mean, it's like the Tao, the Tao
Yeah.
Te Ching, Wu Wei, doing but non-doing. You go with the flow. You kind of like adapt, and then.
Hmm.
But that's the balance. Okay, well, I can't work out right now. I was able to put muscle on in the past. When I did the 30-day water fast. So
Hmm.
I'm like, if I lose muscle, if I lose it all, I know I did it before, so I can gain it back. You
Right.
know, watching what I'm doing, and I'm leaner actually now
Yeah.
than.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was gonna say, I mean, you look like you're in great shape. I mean, if you need to put on some muscle, that I mean, for a particular division, that doesn't seem like it'll be a problem. But you look like you can, whatever you know division you'd want to jump in. You look like you're definitely lean enough. You know.
I transitioned from bodybuilding to physique,
Hmm.
and then so even though I can do wings of strength bodybuilding, I do not want to take more enhancing to
Hmm.
against those gorillas,
Right, right,
gorillas, but they're like freaking
right, right. I understand what you mean.
so I'm actually the same weight as I was going on stage at my first pro show, like not I'm like 5 pounds off on 130.
Hmm.
And my stage weight was 130 pounds. So I always think that, like, for me, leaner in the off season enables your body to kind of adapt the skin. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Loses When you lose weight too quickly, the tissues doesn't allow it to conform to the amount of speed it was
Sure.
oscillate. So now it's like I'm really seeing and feeling the difference of maintaining and keeping a certain weight.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, definitely, I think that's not just good for you. I know you said for me, but I think that's good for everybody. It's just some people don't realize it, you know? Yeah. But
It took me 12 years though. I mean,
yeah,
of getting this way. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I Last year or 2 years, I started a little heavier. I said I maintained not the 160, but I maintained 140, and
Hmm.
even that
Yeah.
at maintaining 140, that was too heavy for me
And how
because
tall are you?
I'm only 5 feet.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
So it's like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
140 was still too big, and then I was
Hmm.
like, shit. And I was like, man, I gotta be lighter.
Yeah.
And so now, I'm 130, and this is where I should be,
Yeah.
and then I go up or down from there. But it sucks because, not, it doesn't suck, but I love eating food, and it was just this association around food and what it meant to me, like you said,
Right. Right.
association of food. And then so now it's like I don't eat that much because I don't need to,
Right.
and lenses that make me feel amazing. And I just look at it like that. And also it's about your body type too, whether you're an endo, mecto,
Sure. Sure. Yeah. There's other variables, but that, I mean, what you're saying definitely makes sense. So, I mean, I guess let's finish up by talking to you about, so what's your plans as far as like in the future with bodybuilding? I know, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. They postponed the Olympia. So like, are you waiting till next year? You got an idea?
um so my goal is, I know that I can, and that's the other thing. Like, I don't. People are like, "Oh, well, you just got your pro card." Now it's, I just got my pro card. And I just started, taking these enhanced. Like, so,
Hmm.
like I haven't even peaked. I'm
Right.
just starting. As weird as it may sound, even at 40, I feel like my body is just now it's just starting. So I know that I have the capability of turning, of winning the Olympia and going to
Hmm.
Olympia, and qualifying for the Olympia. That's what I was trying to do at the Legion's Pro Show.
Hmm.
I came in like 13th out of 40 women.
Yeah.
I
So that's, I mean, that's good.
mean, it was half. It wasn't last.
But
So, and then what I learned from there was I I was lean, but I needed to come in harder.
mhm.
I need, and that means me being leaner in the off season than I already am. So
Right. Right.
my goal is to qualify for the Olympia, to to do it. And my ultimate goal is just, I want to I want to turn pro in physique, women's physique.
Okay. Okay. So, but when you're pro already, can you compete in women's physique pro, or you
So
you
actually,
can't?
so you can actually transition like I did. So I turned pro as a middleweight bodybuilder at the
Hmm.
NPC 2017. So after you turn pro, as in bodybuilding, in this case,
Hmm.
I you can actually do bodybuilding. You can do physique. You can transition to physique,
Okay.
and Same thing about physique. If you turn pro as a physique competitor and you wanted to
Right.
go bodybuilding route, you can.
So you don't have to get a pro card in that division. You just keep your pro card, just move on to the next division. Okay.
Full card, and then you do that division. Right.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like you just have to do your research, pick a good show, win it, or pick a few shows and try to win one and get to the Olympia.
Yeah. It's just about like picking. There's now there's rules. I mean, I totally didn't know that this was even possible, but now they're doing like this point system thing.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Now you can like, I did that show. The Legion was a tier 1 show, meaning that's why I had 40 and it was so hard because after if you won that one, you automatically you go to the Olympia.
Right. Right.
But now there's like most of them are like tier 2 shows. So if I did a tier 2 show and I won, it just meant I gained points.
Oh, I see. So you don't get a ride to the Olympia for that.
Don't go like if I did a tier 2 show and if I like the can't the one in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto is
Yeah,
a tier.
Toronto Pro.
So if I go there and do or the Puerto Rico Pro Show,
Mm-hmm.
that's in July. I could do that. But if I do or the Chicago Pro Show, I believe that one is also that's a big one, but I think it's a tier 2 show. So if I win, and
You
I
just
just
get points. Well, it sounds like the strategy would be like to either pick a tier 1 show that's not going to have a lot of competitors in it, or you're going to have to hit a lot of tier 2 shows to get points. So,
so
well, I believe in you. I think you can do it. I definitely think you can do it. So, but hey, Linda, thank you so much for your time, your input, your knowledge, and just our conversation today. So I took about an hour of your time. So I thank you for that.
listen, this message is about sharing everything, and
Right.
it's about paying it forward. And if other people can learn from it or get whatever out of it, that's all that matters to
Well,
me.
I definitely think so, especially like we touched some subjects that often aren't talked about, especially when it comes to women.
They're never talked about.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's a good thing. I appreciate it. Thank you again. And I'll definitely keep you posted on everything. You have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.